Hey guys, you're watching Techilation, and a few days back my Wi-Fi router became highly unreliable. It would often just randomly drop speeds drastically to the point where it took longer than it should to even load simple web pages. So we decided to get a new router. This is the D'Link DIR 825 dual band AC Wi-Fi router. Quickly going through what you get inside the box, there's the quick installation guide with some other paperwork, an Ethernet cable, the Wi-Fi router itself and the power adapter. In terms of looks, it looks pretty good. Not that I care about the looks of a Wi-Fi router, but it is something to note. So this thing has 4 antennas, 4 LAN ports at the back, an internet port, and on-off switch, a power socket and a USB port which I'll get to in a minute. There are also a bunch of LEDs on the front to indicate various parameters such as power, the 2.4 GHz band, the 5 GHz band and so on. Yes, this is a dual band router, which means it supports both the 2.4 GHz and 5 GHz band. It is really important to know when to connect to the 5 GHz band and the 2.4 depending on where you are. I'll talk more about this when I get to the speed tests. The setup process of this router is fairly simple, although I couldn't get it to work the first time, so I had to reset the router and try again. I thought this Wi-Fi router didn't have a reset button because I couldn't find it at the back. Turns out it was at the bottom. To set it up, connect the router to your modem and turn it on. You can connect your laptop to the router either wired or wirelessly. The wireless details will be provided in a card which is included in the box. After connecting to the new Wi-Fi router, open up a web browser and enter the IP address which will also be provided. It is usually 192.168.0.1. After the D-Link setup page opens, enter the username and password to log in, which will be provided in the box. After that, the procedure is fairly simple. You can have 2 different names for the 2.4 GHz and 5 GHz band and even 2 different passwords if you're into that. Follow the on-screen steps and you should be done pretty quickly. I tested the speeds before and after setting up the new Wi-Fi router at various locations at my house. Just to give you an idea, my previous router was the D'Link DIR 605L. So coming to the speed tests. Closest to the Wi-Fi without any obstacles, I was getting around 49 Mbps before and 95 Mbps after setting up the new router on the 5 GHz band. At a spot 12 feet from the router with one wall in between, I was getting 38 Mbps before and 48 Mbps after. At yet another spot 24 feet from the router and one wall in between, I was getting 28 Mbps before and 70 Mbps after. At a spot 25 feet from the router with 2 walls in between, I was getting 23 Mbps before and 94 Mbps after. At another place 43 feet from the router with 5 to 6 walls in between and a few more obstructions, the speeds remained the same at 11 Mbps. These tests were conducted on a 100 megabits per second connection. Looking at the speed test, I am really satisfied with the new Wi-Fi router. It has given a major speed boost at places where I use my devices the most, which is around 25 feet from the router with 2 walls in between. It also becomes clear that when you get too far from the router, say around 40 feet with a lot of obstacles and walls in between, the speeds are not that good. Now coming to the point of when to use the 5 GHz band and the 2.4 GHz band. I would suggest using the 5 GHz band when you are fairly close to the router with no obstacles in between. This is because the 5 GHz band loses its strength drastically even with a single wall in between the device and the router. At such places, I recommend using the 2.4 GHz band, which is much more stable. Now coming to the USB port at the back of the Wi-Fi router. You can connect a USB storage device to this port like a pen drive or a hard drive and access the files on the storage device wirelessly throughout your devices. It's like your own private cloud. I was able to access the files seamlessly in my laptop and even the iPad, which was the last device I expected it to work on, but I couldn't get it to work on my Android device. This feature is really helpful considering the fact that you can not only access files from the USB storage wirelessly, but you can also copy new files into it and delete them as well. In a nutshell, I think the DIR 825 is a great buy for someone coming from an old single band router and has very slow wireless speeds when considering their actual connection speed. Thank you for watching. Do like, share, comment and subscribe. I'll catch you in the next one.